Even if you have a completely passive business online, there will be times when you need to do some management or upkeep. If you run a blog or a YouTube channel, or if you run a service, then that upkeep and day to day work becomes larger. And if you're still working in an office, even if you've negotiated better working conditions, then you'll have a lot of admin, correspondence, and general management to tangle with. So, a big part of living the lifestyle you want is going to be managing your workload, managing client expectations, dealing with colleagues, etc., etc. And this is where you need to start being savvy if you're going to reduce the work you're committed to and buy back your freedom. One of the big challenges when it comes to managing your workload is how you're going to pitch your service to your clients. In other words, how quickly can you complete their work? How much work are you able to finish? And this is important because the phrasing you use will dictate how free you are. Now, let's say you're a writer and you promise to complete 8,000 words a day for your client. This now means you have to work until you finish that workload. And if you can't fit it in, then you'll have to let them down and you might end up losing them as a client. How might you deal with this better? Well, one option is to say you'll provide a TAT for each piece of work as and when you receive the order. Another option is to say you'll finish X amount by the end of the week and then manage how you're going to complete those orders. Another thing to think hard about is specifically which clients you want to work with. And this is something that Tim Ferriss talks a lot about in his book. He describes the 80-20 principle that dictates that in most work, you tend to get 80% of your yield from 20% of the work. In terms of working for clients, this suggests that 80% of your profits will come from 20% of your clients, in which case it makes sense to do some culling. It also makes sense to try and remove all the clients that are particularly difficult. You need to think about the people you work for in terms of their communication overhead. What you'll find is that some clients make everything more difficult by constantly sending emails, asking questions, and demanding Skype meetings. Others will make life easy by paying on time, communicating briefly but efficiently, and generally just trying to help you both get as much work done as possible. Avoid time wasters and definitely avoid working with entrepreneurs who would rather feel important than do actual work. I have a policy that if a new client requires a Skype meeting, then they're probably not for me. In the past, I would often have long meetings on Skype with people, sometimes lasting hours, only to then find that they only wanted 10 minutes worth of work. And this just creates so much more admin and so much more stress that you're better off turning down some of your work and limiting the amount of people you have to deal with and how hard they are to work for. The same kinds of principles can apply in the office too. If you have any say in the matter, then try to reduce the number of meetings you take part in to an absolute minimum. If you could convey the same information in an email chain, then do. Tim Ferriss again gives some pointers here. One of his pointers is to only check email at set points throughout the day and to set up autoresponders to inform people of that fact. Make sure that you provide an emergency number, but also make sure that you really make clear that this number is intended only for emergencies. This way, people can get in touch if they absolutely have to, so you aren't worrying, but most people won't bother you. The problem is that as soon as you answer emails and start dealing with other people's requests, you've become reactive as opposed to proactive. And by the time you've responded to everyone, you'll have another task sitting in your inbox. Another tip: when answering the phone, begin your conversation by saying you don't have much time. This allows you to get to the point quickly without being rude. They might offer to call back at a more convenient time, but you need to squash this idea and encourage them to talk right now, but quickly.